What if the strangest sci-fi movies weren't failures but warnings the world wasn't ready to hear? From alien visitors that felt uncomfortably human to futures that looked more like nightmares than dreams, some science fiction films pushed ideas so far ahead of their time that audiences simply rejected them. Tonight, we're exploring sci-fi movies that arrived too early, films that confused, disturbed, and shocked viewers, only to be rediscovered years later as prophetic, daring, or deeply misunderstood. If you enjoy uncovering forgotten cinema and the hidden meanings behind classic films, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, which sci-fi movie do you think was ahead of its time? Let's begin. Devil Girl from Mars, 1954. In 1954, audiences expected their alien invaders to look monstrous, masculine, and unmistakably hostile. What they did not expect was a tall, calm, leather-clad woman from Mars, armed with a ray gun and an unsettling sense of authority. Devil Girl from Mars tells the story of Naya, an alien visitor who arrives on Earth seeking men to repopulate her dying planet. Mars, we're told, has been ravaged by nuclear war, leaving women in control and men scarce. Even by today's standards, that premise feels provocative. In 1954, it was quietly radical. The film was produced on a tiny budget, mostly set inside a Scottish farmhouse during a storm, partly to save money, partly to trap the characters in a pressure cooker of fear and suspicion. But beneath its modest production lies a subversive idea, a matriarchal alien society, where Earth's men are viewed as biological resources. To Cold War audiences, already terrified of nuclear annihilation and ideological takeover, this was deeply uncomfortable. Naya wasn't loud or violent. She was cold, logical, superior. A mirror, perhaps, to Western fears of authoritarian control. Critics dismissed the film as cheap and silly. Yet today, it reads like an early feminist sci-fi parable mixed with nuclear anxiety. Its strangeness wasn't accidental. It was cultural discomfort on screen. The Night the World Exploded, 1957. By the late 1950s, American science fiction had become obsessed with one question. What happens when science goes too far? The Night the World Exploded centers on an underground nuclear test that accidentally creates a chain reaction capable of splitting the Earth apart, slowly, invisibly, and inevitably. Unlike most disaster films of the era, there are no giant monsters, no alien invasions, no heroic military victories. The danger is internal, scientific, and unstoppable. The tension comes not from spectacle, but from dread. Scientists argue. Governments hesitate. Time ticks away. Audiences found the film frustrating. There was no cathartic release, no triumph of human ingenuity. Instead, it suggested something terrifying, that knowledge itself might doom us, and that the smartest people in the room may still be powerless. In an era when atomic energy was being marketed as clean, limitless, and benevolent, this message felt uncomfortably pessimistic. Today, it plays like a proto-Chernobyl narrative, quiet, procedural, and disturbingly realistic. Plan 9 from Outer Space, 1959. Few films are as infamous as Plan 9 from Outer Space. Often labeled the worst movie ever made, it became a punchline before it became a cult classic. Directed by Ed Wood, the film follows aliens attempting to stop humanity from creating a doomsday weapon by resurrecting the dead. Yes, resurrecting the dead. The sets wobble. The dialogue is bizarre. The acting veers between wooden and surreal. Yet beneath the technical incompetence lies a sincere message. Humanity is reckless, violent, and incapable of saving itself. Released at the height of Cold War paranoia, the film warns that Earth's aggression will force outside intervention. The aliens aren't villains, they're desperate observers. Audiences laughed. Critics mocked it mercilessly. But today, Plan 9 is viewed differently. Its sincerity, its outsider perspective, and its obsession with nuclear destruction feel oddly authentic. It's strange not because it fails, but because it refuses to comfort. Sometimes being too strange means being too honest. First Spaceship on Venus, 1960. Produced in East Germany and Poland, first spaceship on Venus arrived with ideological baggage that Western audiences didn't know how to process. The film depicts an international space mission discovering the ruins of a Venusian civilization destroyed by its own weapons. Unlike American sci-fi of the era, there are no clear heroes, no triumphant nationalism. Instead, the film emphasizes cooperation, restraint, and the tragic cost of militarization. Visually, it's bleak. Emotionally, it's mournful. Western critics dismissed it as slow, preachy, and joyless. But in retrospect, it's one of the earliest serious attempts to portray space exploration as a moral responsibility, not a conquest. Its message, that advanced civilizations destroy themselves through fear, felt uncomfortably relevant then, and hauntingly relevant now. Battle Beyond the Sun, 1962. Another Cold War oddity, Battle Beyond the Sun was a Soviet sci-fi film later rated for American audiences. The original focused on cooperation between Earth's superpowers during a mission to Mars and Venus. The American version added monsters. Yes, rubber-suit alien creatures awkwardly spliced into an otherwise serious story. The result is bizarre. Tonally confused. Ideologically fractured. Audiences didn't know whether to laugh or listen. The film became a casualty of Cold War censorship, its original meaning distorted beyond recognition. Today, it stands as a strange artifact of geopolitical fear, a reminder that sometimes, a film isn't too strange because of its ideas, but because those ideas are forcibly suppressed. Zardoz, 1974. If the 1950s feared the bomb, the 1970s feared meaninglessness. Zardoz is not a film that explains itself. It assaults the viewer with imagery, floating stone heads, immortal elites, savage outcasts, and Sean Connery in a red loincloth. Audiences in 1974 were baffled. Critics were merciless. But Zardoz wasn't trying to be logical. It was trying to be mythic. Director John Berman crafted a psychedelic allegory about immortality, stagnation, and the death of purpose. The immortal ruling class lives forever, but without desire, creativity, or hope. At a time when sci-fi was still expected to be clean, rational, and technological, Zardoz was spiritual, sexual, and chaotic. It was too strange because it rejected science fiction's rules entirely. The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976. David Bowie didn't play an alien in The Man Who Fell to Earth. He embodied alienation itself. The film follows an extraterrestrial who comes to Earth seeking water for his dying planet, only to be corrupted by capitalism, addiction, and human excess. Slow. Fragmented. Emotionally distant. Audiences expecting spectacle found despair instead. But the film's strangeness is deliberate. It mirrors the experience of being foreign, isolated, and consumed by a society that exploits rather than understands. Bowie's performance, fragile, otherworldly, haunting, was unlike anything audiences had seen. Today, the film is praised as a masterpiece of existential sci-fi. In 1976, it was simply too raw. The Incredible Melting Man, 1977. Before The Fly. Before The Thing. There was The Incredible Melting Man. An astronaut returns from space and begins to decompose. Slowly. Painfully. Publicly. The film horrified audiences, not because of gore alone, but because it offered no redemption. The protagonist doesn't transform into a monster with purpose. He simply rots. Released at a time when sci-fi heroes were still expected to triumph, the film's nihilism was shocking. Today, it's recognized as an early body horror experiment, a meditation on decay, radiation, and the cost of exploration. Without Warning, 1980. By 1980, sci-fi had embraced spectacle. Then came Without Warning. No grand invasion. No explanation. Just invisible aliens hunting humans with razor-sharp projectiles. The film's terror lies in its minimalism. The aliens don't communicate. They don't negotiate. They don't even care. Audiences expecting Star Wars adventure were unsettled by its cruelty and ambiguity. It was too cold. Too bleak. Now, it feels eerily modern. Chopping Mall, 1986. On the surface, Chopping Mall is a campy slasher. Killer robots. Teenagers trapped in a mall. Neon lights and synth music. But beneath the absurdity lies a prescient fear, automation without oversight. Released before the internet age, the film imagines security robots making lethal decisions. Audiences laughed. Today, in a world of AI surveillance and autonomous systems, the joke feels thinner. Sometimes, being too strange means being too accurate. These films weren't failures. They were messages sent too early. Each one challenged its era's assumptions about power, progress, identity, and the future. And each was rejected, mocked, or ignored because it refused to reassure. But time has a way of catching up. What once seemed bizarre now feels prophetic. What once felt uncomfortable now feels honest. Science fiction doesn't just predict technology, it predicts us. If you enjoyed this journey through cinema's strangest futures, let us know which film you think was truly ahead of its time. And if you want more deep dives into forgotten movies and hidden histories, don't forget to subscribe. Because sometimes the strangest films are the ones that told the truth first.